Now we're going to study the SD44.11, the Cula Gosinga Sutta. This is a beautiful sutta. The lesser Gosinga discourse, or the lesser discourse in the Gosinga forest. The theme is on the nature of silence and the joy of spiritual communion. Okay. Thus have I heard that one time the Blessed One was dwelling in the brick house at Nadika. Okay, so here's a brick house, very interesting. We have a brick house even in Buddha's time. At that time, the Venerable Anuruddha, the Venerable Nandiya, and the Venerable Kimbila was staying in the Gosinga Sal Forest Grove. Okay, this word Gosinga is very interesting. Go means cow, Singa means horn. So Gosinga translates cow horn, because there is a very old tree there, which the branches are such that they look like cow's horns. So this park came to be called Gosinga, the cow horn park. So we have these three monks. Now Anuruddha is a monk who is very good in meditation. Okay? So he's able to read minds. Okay? And then these are three friends. They are three great saints. They are living together, practicing meditation. And not only that, they are also observing silence during their retreat. So this sutta is about how people can still communicate in a healthy spiritual way even through silence. So they were living together in retreat in this forest. Look at section 4. So now the story starts by the Buddha coming along to visit these three monks. Okay, the Buddha has left Kosambi. Now, Kosambi is a very interesting place. It's far to the west of the Buddha land. Okay, and the monks are very quarrelsome. So the Buddha has left those monks because they're very quarrelsome. The Buddha is spending rains retreat alone. So this probably the rains retreat is just over. The Buddha is coming back. So he's visiting this tree, either before or after the rains retreat. That part I can't remember. So the Buddha is visiting these three monks. When the Buddha came to the forest, there was a park keeper there. And he is very diligent. So when the Buddha was coming, he told the Buddha, please don't go in there. Don't disturb the monks, they're meditating. So this park keeper in other words does not know the Buddha, couldn't recognize the Buddha. See? But when the park keeper was talking, Anuruddha heard him. Section 4. The Venerable Anuruddha heard the grove keeper speaking to the Blessed One. Hearing this, he said this to the grove keeper. Friend grove keeper, do not obstruct the Blessed One. He is our teacher, the Blessed One, who has come. Right? So Anuruddha says, okay, let him pass. And then Anuruddha, this part is very beautiful, 4.2. Then the Venerable Anuruddha approached the Venerable Nandiya and the Venerable Kimbila. Having approached them, he said this to the two monks. Come out, Bhante, our teacher, the Blessed One, has come. Right, so they all come and see the Buddha, and they are very happy to welcome the Buddha. So what do they do when the teacher comes along? They take his bowl and outer robe, and then they bring him to the kuti to sit down, have some water. Then the conversation begins. The Buddha addresses the three monks. Now notice the first word, section 6, Anuruddha. Notice the ending is a long R. Now if you know some Pali, you know this is plural. Anuruddha is a masculine name, and yet this is in a feminine plural, Anuruddha. It's a long vowel. And you don't make a person's name plural, But here, very special in Pali, when Anuruddha, the name Anuruddha, or the name Sariputta, let's say in plural, long R, in the case of when the Buddha says Sariputta, the Buddha is referring to both Sariputta and Moggallana. Here, when the Buddha says Anuruddha, he's referring to all the three monks. Okay? So, because if he says Anuruddha, Kimbila, Nandiya, so it sounds rather strange, okay? But here we'll just say Anuruddha. Okay? I hope that you are all dwelling in concord, in mutual joy, without dispute, mixing like milk and water, looking at each other with kindly eyes. Okay, this is the famous line on fellowship, all right? Living together like milk, mixing like milk and water, looking at each other with kindly eyes, right? Now why does the Buddha say this? Because the Buddha has come from Kosambi, where the monks are very quarrelsome. They are so quarrelsome that when the Buddha admonished them, told them to stop quarreling, they told the Buddha, please stay out of this quarrel. It's our personal affair. Can you imagine that? So the Buddha left them alone. So the Buddha said, how are you getting on? Are you staying together in good fellowship? Right? So then 6.2, certainly Bhante, we are all dwelling in concord, in mutual joy, without disputing, mixing like milk and water, looking at each other with kindly eyes, not angry eyes, okay? Kindly eyes. Then they explain, how do they do this, right? So section 7, they say, well, we are kind to each other through loving kindness by our actions, by our speech, and through our minds, through our thoughts. So they show loving kindness through all the three doors of action. Now what's interesting is section 7.3. How they do this. And this is something we can learn. Section 7.3. Here, Bhante, I think thus. Okay, so this is Anuruddha is talking and say, well, this is what I do. I think, why don't I put aside my own mind and instead subject myself to the minds of these venerables? Then, Bhante, I set aside what I wish to do and instead do what these venerables wish to do. Okay? Now, you may say, oh, this is strange. How can they do this? This is what a mother would do, what a loving father would do to a child, right? For example, the mother or the child or the father will bring the child to a place where the father or mother won't go, where children go, a playground and so on. And they will buy food that the children like, and so on, right? So here, this is a beautiful fellowship. So Anuruddha says, I'm going to put my ideas away. I'm going to listen to my fellow brother monks. Section 7.4. It seems, Bhante, that we may be of different bodies, but we are of one mind. Right? So this is very beautiful, isn't it? We are all different people, but our minds are one. Bhante, this is how we all dwell in concord, in mutual joy, without dispute, mixing like milk and water, looking at each other with kindly eyes. Then Nandiya also says the same thing to the Buddha, right? And Kimbila also says the same thing. So each of them says the same thing. Remember, this is an oral tradition, nothing was written down. So when the sutta is being taught, you hear the teachings 3 times, right? And that's how you remember better. So this is a very interesting and clever way that the suttas use to reinforce, to help us remember the teaching by repeating the important teachings 3 times. Then in the next section, dwelling together with diligence, 8.2. Now the Buddha asked the monks, 8.2, but how, Anuruddha, do you all dwell diligent, ardent, and resolute? Now, once you see these 3 words, the Buddha is talking about meditation. Okay, he says, so how are you working hard in your meditation? Okay, or there's something else before the meditation. This one is preparing for the meditation. So, section 9. Here, Bhante, whichever of us returns first from the alms round in the village, he prepares the seats, sets up the water for drinking and for washing, and sets up the refuse bin. Right? So they got this bin for throwing away all the whatever they don't need. Right? So notice this is what do you call it? Delegation of duties among the monks. So this is a very good way of learning how to live and work together. So those who come back early, they prepare the place for the others who are coming later. Whichever of us returns later from the alms round in the village, if he wishes, he eats the leftovers. Or if he wishes, he would throw them away where there is no greenery, or pour them away into water where there is no life. In other words, they won't kill any living beings. He puts away the seeds and the water for drinking and for washing. After washing the refuse bin, he puts it away and sweeps the refectory. Refectory is where they eat. So here you are. They all have their duties, those who come early and who come later. Whichever notices that the vessels of water for drinking or for washing or for the toilet are low or empty, he sets them up. Right? So here they don't have to say anything. They just do this themselves. Now you may wonder, why are they highlighting these simple duties like this? Because in Kosambi, earlier on, the monks were quarreling about these little things like this. Apparently the story goes that there are 2 groups of monks. So somebody forgot to put water in the toilet. And because of that, they were quarreling. They say, it's your duty, and so on. They were blaming each other. But here, the Buddha uses this story, or rather Anuruddha says how they delegate their duties. 9.2. If he is unable to manage them, so in other words, if the person cannot do this work, he would signal another with his hand, and by joining hands, they set them up. As such, Bhante, there's no cause for us to break into speech. Now notice here, they do not need to talk. They just signal each other. Because when you live together in fellowship, you know what to do. You don't even have to say anything, right? So this is dwelling together, working hard. Then what about Dhamma practice? Okay, next section, 9.3. On every 5th day of the week, Bhante, we sit together all night. Notice all night, They must say don't sleep. Discussing the Dhamma. This is how we dwell together, ardent and resolute. Right? So every 5th day. Then, now comes the meditation section. So the Buddha is very happy. Section 10, Sadhu, Sadhu, Anuruddha. But Anuruddha, while you were dwelling thus diligent, ardent and resolute, abiding in the comfort that is the distinction of knowledge and vision worthy of noble ones, have you attained the superhuman state? Right? So here, superhuman state can refer to higher meditation as well as attaining of arahathood. Now, at this point, Anuruddha says, why not Bhante? So he says very sure, says, why not Bhante? No? So now Anuruddha explains how to attain the first jhana. Everything's given there in detail, we won't go into this. And then after that, second jhana, section 11, the third jhana, section 12, the third jhana, section 12, and then fourth jhana, section 13. And not only the 4 jhanas, they are also able to attain the 4 formless attainments. They are able to attain, look at section 5, brackets 5, right? The sphere of infinite space. And then they are able to attain section 6, the sphere of infinite consciousness. And next page, section 7, the sphere of nothingness. And section 8, the sphere of neither perception nor non-perception. So these are all the meditation known in ancient times. Then they know something special now. Number 9. Look at number 9. That is just about, that's section 18. The cessation of perception and feeling. Now this is the special one. Only arahats and the Buddha and maybe some non-returners can do this. This is where they get into deep meditation. The breathing stops. There's no sign of life at all. By modern standards, you can say the person is effectively lifeless. Yeah? But yet, after a few days, at the most 7 days, the person will come out of meditation. So this one shows that these monks have attained quite a high level, streamlining or arahathood. Okay? Now, then section 19. So now the Buddha gave them a Dhamma teaching, and section 20.2. Now, when the Buddha asks, when did we? Here the Anuruddha explains to the Buddha. He says, all these monks, they have attained all these levels, all the 8 jhanas plus the 9th. These are called the 9 progressive abodes. Then one of the other 2 monks asked Anuruddha, we didn't tell you about all these things. We didn't tell you we attained all these levels. How did you know? Right? Then Anuruddha says, well, I was able to read your minds. And the Devas also told me so. Right? So there you are. You can see Anuruddha is someone who has very special qualities already. All right? Now, while they are talking, there is another being watching them. This is called the Yaksha Diga Parajana. Okay, so he's also watching, and he's very happy that there are such wonderful monks in that area of the country. So he's rejoicing. He says, section 21.2. It is a gain indeed, Bhante, for the Vajji people. So that place is called Vajji country. The people that are all called Vajjis. He says it's a great gain for the Vajji people. A great gain indeed, that the Tathagata, the Arahat, fully self-awakened, dwells amongst them. And these 3 sons of family, that is the Venerable Anuruddha, the Venerable Nandiya, and the Venerable Kimala, also are there. Right? So this Yaksha is a kind of spirit. So he's very happy. He says, wow, look, you have the Buddha today, and you have these 3 great monks. They're all here. Right? So he's very happy. Now, the next part you see something very interesting. So the Yaksha is a local deity, if you like. Then the earth deities listen to this Yaksha talking, and this earth deity is also very happy. So they say, yes, it's wonderful to have the Buddha and the 3 monks there. And then next level of Devas, Hades, and so it went on like that, stage by stage. So here you see the various stages of the heavens are told us. Earthbound deities, can you see the underlying words? Next section, 21.4, the deities of the 4 great kings, okay? And then 21.5, the deities of the 33, okay? And then the next one, the Yama Devas, and then 21.7, the Tusta Devas. So these are the heavenly levels progressively going higher and higher. No? Then the Devas who delight in creation, the Devas who lord over others' creations. Usually the list will stop here because this is the sense world, okay? The world of senses. Then the last one is simply the Brahma Kayika Devas. Who are the Brahma Kayika Devas? These are the Devas of the first jhana. So in other words, this is even higher still. And these Devas, they are very happy too. Right? Now the Buddha says, so it is Diga, so it is Diga. So the Buddha calls him Diga, the Yaksha, this section 22.2. So to Diga, it is the family from which these 3 sons of family went forth, from home into homelessness. So the Buddha is saying that this family is fortunate to have such great saints. Right? Anuruddha, Nandiya, Kimbila says this. Imagine this family has produced 3 great arahats. And the family generations, in other words, these families and then their relatives, they're also fortunate to be connected with this kind of family. And the village where they come from also be proud of them. See section 22.4. Right? So when you have good people, everyone is happy. Right? The village is happy. Not only the village, the market town, at this time is a bigger area. A market town is bigger than a village, right? People that are also happy. Then even the city that is near this market town also be proud of this kind of saints. And finally, the country also will be. Here, of course, Buddha's time, the country is much smaller. I mean, the size of Singapore, if you like, okay? So, for example, Sakya is one country, the Wajis is another country, okay? So they also will be very proud. So in other words, if you have such saints, different levels of society will be happy with them. And not only that, this time the Buddha goes into within society. So within society it says, if Diga, look at section 22.8, if Diga, all the Kshatriyas or nobles were to recall these 3 sons of family with an inspired heart, it would be for the good and welfare of all these Kshatriyas for a long time. So this time the Buddha is talking about just recalling these 3 great saints, thinking of them. So this is Sangha Nusati, recollecting the saints. Even these nobles, these are you can say the ruling class. You think of the great saints, it will be good for them. Then the Brahmins, these are the priestly class, these are the educating class, if you like. If they think of these 3 great saints, they reflect on these 3 great saints, they also benefit. The Vaishyas are the merchants, the business class. The Shudras are the working class people. Indeed, if the world, anyone in the world were to reflect on these 3 great saints, it will benefit them. So in this last one, the Buddha is referring to us. Okay? So in other words, now that you know this story, the Cula Gosinga Sutta, and you reflect, it says this great monk, the great saint Anuruddha, the great saint Nandiya, the great saint Kimbila, they live together in the forest without talking. And yet they can work together. They show loving kindness to each other without even talking. They're at peace with themselves. If they can do that, we also can live happily like that. So this is the reflection. All right? This is also Sangha reflection. All right? Then finally, the Buddha closes section 22.13. See, Digha, how these three sons of family have practiced for the good of the many, for the happiness of the many, out of compassion for the world, for the benefit, the good, and the happiness of gods and humans. Notice, not just humans, gods and humans. Now this part is very interesting because what the Buddha is saying here, these three great monks, by practicing in this way, they are not just doing it for themselves. When you do good, you are not just doing for yourself. A lot of other people also benefit. If you do something selfish, only you benefit. Other people don't benefit. So here, although the saints are living by themselves, in silence, doing simple chores like pouring water in the pot, preparing the seed, getting the rubbish bin ready or cleaning it up. Simple acts like that, nothing big, nothing worthy of writing in the newspapers, for example. It shows us that we can be happy too, just by thinking of these great saints. So this is a lesson. Recollect the wonderful actions of the peace and wisdom of these great arahats. The Blessed One said this, satisfied, the Yaksha Digha Parajana rejoice in the Blessed One's words. So here you have this person, this Yaksha, very happy listening to the Buddha, and of course the three arahats are happy too. Right? So there you are. That concludes our study for today. No? Okay. Sadhu. Okay, so let us close this with a reflection, with a dedication of merit. On this special day, especially it is my 70th birthday, which reminds us that time is passing, and we ask ourselves, what are we doing with our lives? And I can say all these years, the last 50 years at least, have been very happy for me. I've been working with the Buddha Dharma, making my life meaningful, and helping to make your lives meaningful too, because through the Dharma, we all see our better sides. We see our potential. We become self-reliant. This is the great teaching of the Buddha. Reflecting in this way is very good karma. By the power of such good karma, by the power of the three jewels, may we be well and happy. May we be at peace with ourselves. Above all, may we be blessed with the wisdom and courage to aspire at least to attain stream winning in this life itself. May our loved ones to be well and happy. May they too see the Buddha's path in this life itself. And may those who are lost or having difficulty to quickly find their way back to the Buddha's true path, the true teaching. May all beings be well and happy. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.